make a distinction between being pro-markets and being pro-business and pro-big business. And oftentimes...
Make the distinction.
Well, the distinction is, okay, if Americans are buying Chrysler's cars because it's a level playing field and they want to buy those cars,
right, that's
pro-market. If the government has to bail them out because they are a big company and they are politically connected, that's pro-big business, and it does nothing for the economy.
Now, the argument that you just made, which candidly I made, perhaps not with your passion, and a lot of us made, in September 2008, fell on deaf ears when Hank Paulson wrote on the back of a napkin and went running to President Bush and said, we need $700 billion right now or the sky is going to fall. Why does that argument make sense today, but fell on deaf ears then?
Well, that $700 billion was for the financial industry. There is no industry in America that is more politically connected in Washington. Why do presidents of both parties constantly come to New York for fundraisers? I mean, constantly. There is no industry that's more politically connected than Wall Street. In fact, who are the investment bankers for Chrysler right now? Goldman Sachs.
All right, so why did the government save Goldman Sachs but let Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns die on the vine? How do they decide who to save and who to let go?
Well, of course, that is part of the problem. They decided they wanted to send a message with Lehman Brothers. And in both cases, by the way, they kind of engineered these bankruptcies. They basically made sure that their business was moved over. The government decided who was big enough and who was not big enough.
All right, the government, the decision-making process in the Bush years was their friends on Wall Street. In the Obama years was their friends in the unions. Fair?
This is the way the system is gamed. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not suggesting that one system is superior to the other, because I don't think the government should be doing this.
It's the same principle. It is a pro-big business, pro-your-friends principle, rather than a pro-competitive free market principle. Look, in the middle of all this, last year, 60,000 businesses failed in America. 60,000. Just not the ones that the government favored.
All right, so if the government puts this safety net under businesses, big businesses, Goldman Sachs knows the government will never let it fail. So Goldman Sachs does not have an incentive not to fail. They can be as risky and crazy as they want, because half the Treasury Department used to work for Goldman Sachs, and they'll probably go back there. Therefore, they'll get what they need. Fair statement?
Well, we saw this in the housing bubble. We saw businesses on Wall Street making incredible risks for exactly that reason. And by the way, it's not all big businesses. Clearly, this administration is not backing Boeing, for instance.
All right, you're right. We'll talk about that another time. We only have about 15 seconds, and it's an important question. Can we ever break this culture of dependency, whether it's individuals or corporations, depending on the government?
Well, we can clearly do it if we just think to ourselves, and if people vote pro-market, not pro-big business. There is a difference. We have to keep the distinction in mind.
That presumes that there are candidates running who are pro-market. Steve Malaga from the Manhattan Institute. It's a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.